News and Events COVID-19 on July 05 and July 06, 2020 vertical line. Note, this is a collaborative video made between Travel for All Fanpage and Knowledge of Coronavirus channel. Please respectfully welcome everyone. The following is the remarkable news most on July 05 and July 06 as follows. 1. Updated global COVID-19 on July 6, 2020. According to the Worldometers statistics page, up to 6 p.m. on July 6, the world recorded 11,543,419 people with COVID-19 acute respiratory infection, including 536,344 deaths and 6,526,679 people recovered. More than 6.52 million COVID-19 patients have recovered. More than 4.42 million are being treated, with about 1% of these in severe or critical conditions. The two countries most affected by the COVID-19 epidemic were the United States and Brazil. The total number of cases in the United States and Brazil are 2,979,867 and 1,603,055, while the total deaths are 132,551 and 64,867 respectively. On July 5, India recorded an increase of 23,932 new cases, bringing the total number of people with COVID-19 to 697,836, surpassing Russia to become the third most affected country in the world due to the pandemic. This danger. The Philippines, the Southeast Asian nation, recorded the highest number of new cases on July 5, with 2,424 cases, bringing the total number of 19 COVID cases nationwide to 44,254. In the Middle East, on July 5, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the country was in a state of emergency due to a doubling of COVID-19 cases. Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, said the increase was challenging the Israeli health system. Israel's Ministry of Health recorded 755 new infections on July 5, bringing the total number of COVID-19 cases to 29,787. In South Africa, on July 5, the Ministry of Defense deployed more than 50 military personnel to the Eastern Cape province to increase support for local health teams in the context of the province becoming the largest COVID-19 outbreak. Free in South Africa, accounting for more than 18% of all cases nationwide. 2. The number of COVID-19 cases is on the rise again in Japan. Prime Minister Abe has recently been briefed on the nationwide epidemic, including Tokyo, where more than 100 new cases have been recorded in 3 consecutive days. Most of the new infections in this densely populated capital are aged 20-30 years, involving bars and nightclubs. However, he also agreed with the ministers that although it is not necessary to redeclare an emergency situation in the near future, it is necessary to closely monitor the situation. Some experts have warned against the possibility that the city of Tokyo could face a second wave of infection and asked the capital city to consider advising residents to limit going out if not necessary, or not to amusement parks and nightlife. General information said July 4, Japan has also confirmed 274 new cases. This is the day with the highest number of new infections since the country lifted a national emergency on May 25. Particularly, the capital of Tokyo has detected 131 new cases, bringing the total number of COVID-19 cases in this city is 6,654 people. On July 5, Japan recorded 114 more cases of COVID-19, of which 111 were concentrated in Tokyo. This is the 4th consecutive day Tokyo recorded the number of COVID-19 infections in excess of 100 people. The majority of new infections come from nightlife venues, including karaoke bars, and pubs. Japan also said that 75% of newly discovered patients were between the ages of 20 and 40, and a third of unknown infections spread. According to Worldometers info, Japan currently records more than 19,000 cases and 977 deaths from disease. 3. Rocket attack on U.S. facilities in Iraq. On July 5, 2 rocket attacks took place on U.S. military and diplomatic facilities in the country. A senior Iraqi security source said the attacks occurred hours after the U.S. Embassy in Iraq tested the new CRAM missile defense system. The CRAM system, installed at the U.S. Embassy earlier this year, is capable of detecting incoming objects and destroying them in the air. Currently, the U.S. Embassy has not commented on whether this defense system was used to intercept rockets during the said attack. According to the Iraqi army, a rocket heading to the Green Zone, the headquarters of diplomatic missions in Baghdad, crashed near a residential house, injuring one child. At the same time, Iraqi forces intercepted another rocket at the Taji military base north of Baghdad, where U.S. troops were stationed. No organization has acknowledged the attack. Since October 2019, U.S. interests in Iraq have been the target of dozens of missile attacks that Washington has accused of carrying out Iranian armed forces. Last week, Iraqi authorities arrested dozens of militants on allegations of attacks for American pharmaceutical corporation Glenmark is accused of manipulating generic drug prices. The Justice Department recently accused the generic drug maker Glenmark Pharmaceuticals of manipulating the prices of many drugs being sold in the U.S. market as part of a federal case of price modification in the generic drug industry. The company could face a fine of hundreds of millions of dollars, according to a press release on allegations made by the U.S. Department of Justice. After the complaint was filed in Eastern Pennsylvania District Court, which accused Glenmark and some other companies of making $200 million in profits from manipulating illegal prices. But a Glenmark spokesman said the allegations were untrue, and the allegations indicated that Glenmark and several other drug companies had colluded to raise the price of a bad cholesterol-suppressing drug called prevastatine. The document also identifies Apotex as one of the pharmaceutical companies associated with Glenmark in this price manipulation operation. Apotex agreed to pay $24 million in fines in May after admitting that it had colluded with a number of other companies to revise the price of prevastatine. This fine is part of the agreement to delay prosecution that the company reached with the Ministry of Justice. 4 other generic drug companies have negotiated with the Justice Department's Antitrust Division and have paid fines of more than $229 million. 5. China-India tensions move from politics to economic conflict. International observers say that China-India tensions have shifted rapidly from politics to deep-seated economic conflict. The evidence is that India drastically blocked a series of Chinese investment channels into the country, from transport infrastructure to technology and telecommunications. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, "The era of expansionism is over. Now is the age of development." China on the same day responded to the statement of Modi, saying that treating Beijing as an expansionist was unfounded. India is in a difficult time, especially when border collisions occur at a time when the COVID-19 epidemic situation in the country is tighter than ever. It is already the 4th largest epidemic site in the world. But India also surprises the world with its latest moves. Although border tensions have been somewhat downgraded in the last days of June, with a conclusion of some agreements to withdraw troops from disputed areas, India seems to be taking a different form of toughness. A series of tightening and economic restrictions with China were announced by India last week. This is a remarkable move, especially when the country is heavily dependent on trade and investment flows from China. The Sino-Indian border has become tense in recent days after a clash that killed 20 Indian soldiers in mid-June. The geopolitical conflict is in danger of spreading to the economic sector. On June 22, the Maharashtra state government is reviewing contracts with 3 Chinese companies totaling more than $600 million. June 29, India's 59 applications are of Chinese origin because they think these platforms threaten Indian sovereignty and integrity. Most recently, India announced that it would ban Chinese companies from participating in highway construction projects, including joint ventures. A wave of boycotts of Chinese goods is spreading across India following a border clash. It is known that Chinese merchandise accounts for 23% of total Indian imports, including electronics, pharmaceuticals, auto parts, furniture, footwear, and household appliances. The Indian Air Force yesterday, July 4, conducted a drill at a military base near the border with China. The exercise took place shortly after Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in the Ladakh region, where clashes between Indian and Chinese troops last month killed 20 Indian soldiers. Both India and China accuse each other of causing border tension. But on Friday, China's foreign ministry said both countries were conducting talks to reduce tensions. 6. Australia will temporarily close the border between Victoria and New South Wales. After COVID-19 cases soared in Melbourne, the Australian government announced it would temporarily close the border between the country's two most populous states, Victoria and New South Wales, NSW. The closure of the border between Australia's two most populous states will take effect Wednesday, July 8. It is worrisome in the past 2 weeks that the number of COVID-19 cases in Melbourne, the capital city of Victoria, has increased by several hundred people, accounting for more than 95% of all new COVID-19 cases in Australia. Over the weekend, July 4, the local government enforced a strict blockade with 9 apartments in Melbourne, forcing 3,000 people not to leave their homes for any reason after the discovery of an outbreak in the area. The military has also been mobilized to assist the Victorian government to conduct coronavirus testing. Every day at least 20,000 people here are tested. 7. Japanese people have to dive through windows that escape through floods. Because the floodwaters were too high, 78-year-old Narumi Kawano and his wife climbed the second floor to avoid but the water rose to their necks. They decided to dive for 2 m and swim out through the window. According to the Japan Times newspaper, deep floodwater and the risk of landslides in many places hindered search and rescue activities yesterday. Up to 40 people were confirmed dead or missing in Japan on July 5. By the morning of July 6, 22 people had died from floods and at least 18 others were missing, but most likely, power has died in Kumamoto province. The majority of victims belong to the age group of 60-80 years old. According to general information, the dike of the Kuma River broke in many places during and after heavy rain on the morning of July 5. Floods and landslides blocked roads and swept away many houses. Rescuers have struggled to reach severely affected areas along the river banks in the cities of Yatsushiro and Hideyoshi. Prime Minister Abe Shinzo said the government would send 10,000 people from Japan's Ground Self-Defense Force to rescue, and the Japan Times noted a large area along the Kuma River was swallowed up by floodwaters. Many vehicles were submerged. Floodwaters reached many houses. Mud flooded into the houses, leaving residents with no shelter outside to climb to the roofs to send signals to the rescue team. Earlier, the government had asked about 203,200 residents in Kumamoto and neighboring Kagoshima to evacuate. More than 100 safe shelters have been established. However, because the evacuation order is not mandatory, many people still decide to stay home due to concerns about coronavirus infection in these centers, although the government has pledged that centers will be equipped with secured equipment. Safe. The meteorological agency called on people to be wary of heavy rains and muddy floods that will continue in western Japan until July 7. Floods also caused blackouts and communications in some areas as the slowing down the rescue process for people isolated in floods. 8. China denies the news of the Uyghur sterilization. China denies information on sterilizing Uyghurs to control the population. The work of German researcher Adrian Zenz is blowing smoldering tensions between the US and China over Xinjiang. In a report published June 29, Zenz said Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities were forced to have an abortion if they did not want to enter concentration camps. The German researcher claims his findings were enough to call what China did in Xinjiang a demographic genocide, campaign defined by the United Nations. The Associated Press on June 29 also announced a separate investigation but led to the same conclusion as Mr. Zenz. Earlier, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called on China to immediately stop this horrific act. He also urged countries to stand up with Washington to put an end to Beijing's inhumane actions. History will judge what we do today. But Beijing stressed that it did not conduct the systematic sterilization campaign to curb the population of Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities. China is accused of imprisoning more than 1 million Uyghurs in Muslims in concentration camps in Xinjiang. 9. Canada clearly states that Hong Kong security law is a big step back for freedom. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on July 3 announced that Canada would stop extradition treaty with Hong Kong because of new security laws. The Canadian Foreign Minister also criticized the law as a big step back for freedom. We are very concerned about the situation in Hong Kong, said Mr. Trudeau. According to the Prime Minister of Canada, the principle of one country, two regimes is important not only for 7.5 million city residents but also for 300,000 Canadians living there. In a statement posted on its official website, the Chinese embassy in Ottawa said that Canada had violently intervened in Chinese affairs. Officials in Hong Kong on July 4 also said they were very disappointed because of Canada's decision to suspend the extradition treaty. But a spokesman for the Canadian Prime Minister's office once again emphasized the country's serious concern over new Chinese law. This person said Ottawa did not have any further comments. Relations between Beijing and Ottawa have been strained since 2018 after Canada arrested Meng Wanzhou, chief financial officer of UE Technologies Group, at the request of the United States. After Meng was arrested, China also arrested two former Canadian citizens, former diplomat Michael Carter and businessman Michael Staver, on espionage charges. 10. Mysterious pink ice appears on the Alps. Scientists in Italy are learning about the mysterious appearance of the pink ice in the Alps, which is thought to be proliferating algae due to the effects of climate change. Having studied many algae species including algae at Morteratsch Glacier in Switzerland, Biagio Di Moro said, "This algae is not dangerous. This is a natural phenomenon occurring during the season. Spring and summer in areas at medium altitude and at the poles of the Earth. The algae Ensilanema nordenskioldi appears in the area known as Greenland's dark zone, which is also witnessing melting ice due to climate change. Normally, ice reflects more than 80% of the sun's radiation into the atmosphere, but when algae appear, they make the ice darker, thereby absorbing heat and melting faster. More algae appear as the ice melts faster, providing them with vital elements of water and air, while adding red to the snow and white ice at Paso Gavia, which is 2,618 meters high. Our newsletter is now over. Thank you for always watching and supporting our videos. Knowledge of coronavirus, channel and travel for all fantage respectfully, and see you in the next video. Is now over. Thank you for always watching and supporting our videos. Knowledge of coronavirus, channel and travel for all fantage respectfully, and see you in the next video.